Hello everyone, whoever's watching this video, maybe just some of my friends on Facebook. I don't know how far this will reach out. I'm not that popular of a figure, but I should let you know that this is a video response to Dhruv, who recently uploaded a video on the topic of ongoing border dispute between Nepal and India for the disputed region of Kalapani and Limpiadura. For those of you who do not know who Dhruv is, Dhruv is a popular Indian YouTuber who is well known for his liberal and neutral perspective on various subject matters that he covers, especially Indian politics. I used to be a huge admirer of him for the way he presented his facts and opinions, which stood against the right-wing government of India. He was my go-to source to find out the actual happenings, because the mainstream media cannot be trusted in these days. But what I learned after watching his video today on the Nepal-India border dispute is that maybe sometimes nationalism does overwhelm liberalism and free will, for that matter. Patriotism or nationalism is a very strong feeling that a person can feel. Well, maybe I am presenting this video too with that feeling, but let's just stick to facts here. And I would like to start by pointing out that Dhruv, you just lost an admirer today. That's what I would like to start by. You said it so easily that what does it matter if the territory is controlled by Nepal or by India? Both of the people, both the countrymen can utilize the resources, utilize the land, and benefit from it. Well, you're not wrong, but I wonder if you would have similar opinions regarding Kashmir or your border disputes with China and Pakistan in Ladakh and Kashmir regions. Well, if that is the case, why not just let Nepal control the region to whom it actually belongs to? It has been well documented that the Nepalese regime did allow the Indians to set up army camps back in the 1960s when they had a conflict with China. Nepal really wouldn't have made such a claim, such false claims, or such an issue if India had just abided by the rules or by the treaty, to be honest. And I will talk about the treaty. Nepal has been nothing but a good friend to India in every matter. We share the same culture, traditions, religion, food, ethnicity. There's not much differences between India and Nepal, culturally. And the Nepalese government also understands that the Limpiadura region is a strategic vantage point for the Indian military from a security perspective. And I'm sure that they could have come to some sort of arrangement if they had just held talks with the government of Nepal, just like they did in the 1960s. We did allow the Indians to set up camps back then in 18 different locations, and out of which I think 17 of them were eradicated by the Nepalese government after a few years, but they failed to do so in Limpiadura. And in his video, Dhruv said, pointing out to Nepal, that if they did not need the region for more than 100 years, why now? Why are they being so impractical? I never imagined that such a question would arise from his mind, considering him being such an intellectual. Well, you should understand that Nepal isn't claiming the territories that it owned in the 1800s. It's not claiming the lands that it owned more than 100 years ago. It isn't claiming back Sikkim or Darjeeling for that matter, neither Kumaon, Garhwal in the west or Kangra region, nor the parts of Bihar or UP in the southern parts of Nepal. Just to put the facts to the table, I should mention that the Nepalese territory extended up to Allahabad, the current-day Prayagraj in south. So you should keep a note of that. But no, the Nepalese are not claiming all that. The Nepalese government and the Nepalese people are only urging the Indians to abide by the Treaty of Segolia, which was signed after the Anglo-Nepal War, which clearly defined boundaries between the two nations. And it is the only legitimate document that defines the boundaries between these two nations. It's just that plain and simple. Just because a document is 200 years old doesn't mean it's invalid or it's not in action. It is completely legal and in action until it is revoked. Every man with some education can understand that. And just because Nepal was not utilizing the territory does not mean that some other nation can go ahead and claim it to be theirs. It's just not right. That's just like saying, why does China want back Tibet now? It doesn't work that way. If it's your territory, it is your territory. You can do whatever you want with it. You can either leave it barren or build superstructures, super infrastructures on it. It's your personal choice. Well, no country utilizes 100% of their territory. If that's the case, does India utilize the snow deserts of Ladakh? Does it utilize the hills of Kashmir? If not, why not just let those areas fall into the hands of Pakistan and China? Is what I would like to ask the Indian government and Dhruv. We all know that Nepal is significantly smaller and a weak nation compared to India in terms of geography, or population, economy, development rates, or military strength, but that does not mean that it has any less of a status as an independent country compared to India or China or the United States or any other country that exists or has existed on Earth. One should understand that if a nation can't keep track of its borders or put up some security forces in every remote areas because it does not have the resources to do so, is not an invitation for its neighbor to invade or encroach the territory. Not having enough military forces or adequate resources to defend its borders when it already has an established arrangement and agreement is a weakness, and only foes exploit weakness, not allies. And we thought Indians were our allies. We have a peace treaty with them. We have a trade treaty with them. Nepal is a member of the United Nations just like any other country, and no country in this world has the right to raise issues or questions against sovereignty or territorial integrity of an independent nation. That's just not right. It can't be done, not with regard to its geographical size or political or military dominance. Nepal is a small and peace-loving nation. That's it. Not to mention that Nepal is one of the oldest sovereign nations in the world. It is in fact older than the United States in existence, which got its independence from the British in 1776. And India, being a good friend or a good neighbor, should have just secured its borders rather than trying to play childish games like the Maharajas in the 1600s, trying to expand their territory in the 21st century, where nothing gets hidden. It's not the 1600s, it's not the 1800s. There are news sources, there's internet, there's media. We might not have military forces in Lipu Lake, but we do have media. We have social media and the internet. And you cannot suppress that. If India had just acted as a good friend, it would have earned them more respect and appreciation from the Nepalese people instead of the scrutiny that they are facing right now. And not just from Nepal. We know how many countries India has disputed borders with, be it Bangladesh or Pakistan or China. And it's just not right that they are riling up against Nepal too now. And it makes me wonder, how long are they going to continue this? Anyways, the Nepalese abide by the Treaty of Segolia, and they just want their small nation to exist as much as India wants for itself. If the British changed the maps in the 1960s, as Dhruv said, that the British changed the map in the 1960s and shifted the borders to the east, well, that was a con. If the British changed the map and brought the borders eastwards towards the Lipu River, that was a con. No official documentation is present, and nowhere it is stated that the boundaries were changed. It's all unofficial. And it appears that India has just been keeping up the good work and working on a roadmap laid by the British till date. It's a laughable subject matter, to be honest. The Treaty of Segolia of 1916 AD clearly states that the territory east of the Mahakali River belongs to Nepal and the territory west of the river belongs to India, or the then British India. And I don't really see the topic of dispute here, and shifting the boundary to the subsidiary Lipu River towards east is a childish act. It's really childish. Well, the Nepalese were just uneducated at that point in time. They were just recovering from a war loss. They had no means to verify maps, neither the resources or manpower to establish forces in the border regions back in the 1860s. So the Brits, being Brits, clearly took advantage of hoping to get by it unnoticed, which they did. And it's not today that the Nepalese have come to notice this fact. Nepal had been conducting polls and census in the area up until 1970s. The residents of the area were paying taxes. They owned citizenships of Nepalese residency. This was slowly later discontinued as the Indian forces, who had been present there for over a decade now, started exerting force and stopped the officials from Nepal entering the area. The reports of the census, the bills, the receipts of the taxes paid by the people, the manpower involved in the census are still alive, and the various other documents that are well preserved in the National Archives in Kathmandu, only solidifying Nepal's case. And it's not just Limpiadura or Lipu Lake region that is disputed between the two countries. Over 14,000 hectares of land has been falsely occupied by India in the southern Lumbini region of Nepal. And to fact check that, you can Google Susta border conflict and you'll find many documentations and articles related to that, but India never agrees to set up talks or sit down and have a discussion on that matter with the Nepalese officials. That is a whole other topic. And not just that, the entire southern belt of Nepal, bordering with Indian states of Bihar and UP, Uttar Pradesh, has hundreds of kilometers of land that has been encroached primarily by the BSF. And I don't know, I don't want to say much, but to conclude, I'm not here to judge. I'm not judging anyone. I'm just presenting the facts that are there. Anyone can go and look up the SUGAULI Treaty. It's available on various domains under a PDF format, or the Treaty of 1950 between India and Nepal. Those documents clearly state what I am stating right now. It would appear that India did get independence from the imperialists in 1947, but I think that imperialism was left for the Indians to inherit by the Brits. Maybe it is true. You do become what you despise the most. And I would just like to point out that if and when the Nepalese do pursue this case legally and drag the Indians up to The Hague, they will have to give up the land by hook or by crook. It's just plain and simple. You can't stand against the international community just because you are a growing superpower. Never. That's not gonna work. That's not how it works. Thank you.